He was not getting enough blood to his brain, and so he was going out of consciousness, and so they had to resuscitate him where they lost his pulse and then brought it back and lost it about 3 times.
Welcome back to Brain, sponsored by Toro and Tides. I'm your host, Evan Folan, and this is our Handle with Care segment where I share real stories of life-altering moments and the road that follows after a brain injury. Today, I'm sitting down with Josh, along with his parents and caregivers, Brenda and Aaron. Josh was in college working towards an aviation degree with his future clearly in front of him. But on April 11th, 2021, a ride on his motorcycle changed everything. He was going the speed limit, 55 miles per hour, when a vehicle turned in front of him and stopped in the road, leaving him no time to avoid the impact. The crash was incredibly severe, and thankfully, medical professionals nearby heard the impact, responded immediately, and saved his life by resuscitating him on scene. Josh suffered multiple injuries, including fractures, a punctured lung, carotid artery damage, and a severe traumatic brain injury with shearing throughout the brain. While Josh is not able to communicate in this conversation, his story is at the center of everything we're sharing today as he sits down with us. This is a story about survival and the role family plays in the fight that follows. Welcome to the show, y'all.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Of course. This is a pleasure. You know, one of the coolest things is y'all are from where I grew up, St. Louis, Missouri.
We went to the same high school Josh did for a little while.
That is so cool. Lafayette High School. So many memories growing up in St. Louis, a beautiful area. Now, I don't want to take any time away from y'all. Give me a little bit of backstory, the family, the dynamics, and what brought y'all here today.
We're just your basic square family of four before Josh's accident. Josh has another brother that's about a year and a half younger than him. And it was COVID when the accident happened. So things were a little weird. But our family was just, a normal family doing all the normal things, doing the sports and activities everybody does.
Yeah, we were just about to be empty nesters.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Josh was off to college as a freshman, and our youngest son was a senior in high school doing all the senior stuff.
That's crazy to think about, from entering this shift where y'all are going to be empty nesters, like you said, and prepping for that, and then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, life changes completely for y'all. Can you walk us through that day and what y'all remember?
Well,
we were in Napa Valley on a wine trip with some friends, and we had just gotten the shuttle to go back to the airport that morning when Life 360 called us and told us there was crash detection on Josh's phone. And we looked on Life 360 to make sure he wasn't flying first, which was great. And then tried to call him, couldn't get a reply, tried to figure things out.
Yeah.
We didn't know any of his friends in college yet, so we were kind of grasping at straws trying to figure out who to call. It was COVID too, so we didn't know really much.
I saw on Live 360, we were kind of watching, and I saw Josh's phone make its way to Carbondale Hospital. And we had to get on a plane to try to make it back, and we hadn't heard from anybody. We had called, and then I got a call from the sheriff down there that all he knew was he was on his way to the hospital, and we had to fly to Colorado, to Denver, where we were stuck at a 6-hour delay. And that's when we first heard from the doctors that said how serious it was. It was serious enough that they were going to have to fly him to Barnes Hospital in St. Louis. And so Josh headed to Barnes via helicopter, and we headed back to St. Louis, and we both landed about the same time at 3 o'clock in the morning in St. Louis. And that's really where the journey, this long journey began, when we, kind of walked in and talked to the doctors at that point. This is, early hours of that morning. And they just said, it's pretty severe. He's got a traumatic brain injury, kind of went through the details of what was going on, and he was on a ventilator and all of that at that time. So pretty scary from there on.
Oh, I'd say so. I've heard my mom's perspective on this as well. I was living in California when my accident happened, and that inability to get there so quickly, right? You talk about that 6 hour layover in Colorado. And my mom mentioned, you see these people laughing and smiling in the airport because they're going on vacation or something. And
Right.
y'all's world has stopped. You don't know, how Josh is. You have limited details. Um, those phone calls, were they able to give you much information? For me, my family didn't get much. All they got was, he's in a coma. He's critical but stable. What are those calls with the doctors? How did they go?
There were
The only call we got was from the hospital in Carbondale asking us if we wanted, basically telling us they couldn't handle what was going on.
Hmm.
That Josh's responses were not normal and that he needed to go to Barnes. And from there, uh, I went to the hospital first because, like Brenda said, it was COVID and we didn't know how many people could even go. So I went there, and I remember, walking over this walkway bridge from the parking lot into the hospital just in a daze, not knowing what I was going to walk into. And when I got into the ICU unit, the trauma ICU, and I saw Josh, he was, of course, unconscious with just tubes and machines, and plus, all the other injuries he had, fractures and everything else. And nobody ever gave me any kind of sense of it's going to be okay or anything really. They were just kind of, I could see the look in their eyes that this was problematic. This was a situation. And so it was just really right down to brass tacks of this is what we're doing, and these are the things that are going to happen, and that sort of stuff. And nobody really said how bad or how good it was either way. It was just, we're in a situation. Josh is in a hard spot, So
we hear
kind of
stories where
started
people
going.
say that, like, oh, I had this percent of a chance to live, or they give it this percent of a chance to live. They never said anything like that on Josh.
Nothing.
No, nothing. Just like, we've got a situation. We're going to have to deal with this. And these are the steps we're taking right now. He's got to go into surgery for his wrist. He's got to go into surgery for his other fractures and things that are going on. And this team is watching here, and it was multiple of teams looking at Josh because of all of his injuries.
Now, it seemed like rushing into surgery to fix the fractured bones and probably the punctured lung. Now, when the accident did happen, first responders were on scene. We talked about a carotid injury. Was he bleeding out on scene?
Yeah, he was not getting enough blood to his brain, and so he was going out of consciousness, and so they had to resuscitate him, where they lost his pulse and then brought it back and lost it about 3 times, is what I remember them saying. He When they got to the hospital in St. Louis, they were able to determine that he was getting enough blood in his brain to be okay, but that's not where we wanted to stay. And so there was so many different injuries that he had. It was, the trauma guys were kind of take the I'm sorry, the neurosurgeons were really, it was their call, and they had to balance between taking care of his carotid arteries right away, determining how much blood flow he was getting in his brain, and minimizing the brain swelling and the pressure that was happening. So they couldn't lay him down long enough to do the surgeries they needed to do on his carotid arteries, because they had to keep him sitting up to reduce the pressure.
He had to do a flat test every like a couple times a day to see how long he could lay flat before he had those surgeries.
Right.
Wait,
And then
can you break that down
just,
for us? Just the flat tests for our viewers that might not know.
His ICP, his intracranial pressure, would rise too high every time he laid flat. So they had to raise him back up again whenever it went too high. So they kept trying to do that to do the surgery for his carotid arteries. And I don't know, all of a sudden they're just like, okay, he's going. And we're like, oh, okay, I guess he's back.
Well, what happened was he had a bolt in his head, and the bolt is it's just a little
measures his ICP.
Measures his internal cranium pressure. And after so many days, it really becomes maybe not as accurate as it is in the beginning, because of just what's going on in there. And so at one point he was able to lay on the table for almost enough time. And at that point they said, you know what, we've got to do this regardless. We're just going to have to do the surgery. And so they did. Yeah. And then the next thing was they took the decant, what do they call it, where they take the tube and stuff out of his throat. And at that point, it was going to be determined when they gave him this tracheotomy. They had to take the tube out and that sort of thing, because it can only stay in there for so many days, or they risk hurting his vocal cords permanently. And they put a trach in
and a G button,
and right, all for safety's sake, so that we can make sure he has a clear airway. And when they did that, Josh went ahead and started breathing on his own. He didn't need the vent.
Wow.
So it was like, oh, okay. He doesn't need the vent. They just had minor pressure on it to keep airflow and keep it safe. So he was able to breathe on his own right away. And so when I walked in that morning, it was kind of crazy, because he was sitting up, and they had put him up in a chair, to
move, to have him sitting up.
Yeah, just to have him sitting up. And they were like, no, he's doesn't need the vent. And I think that surprised a number of people.
I mean, talk about, hope in such a critical time, right? Where you're used to seeing him with this tube down his throat, and then now it's okay. He's here. He's breathing on his own. I mean, that speaks to the functioning of his brain, right? Where his body's able to regulate. We're going to be taking a quick break right now. Nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Well, that's something I learned from the Brain Injury Clubhouse community. You ever heard of the Brain Injury Clubhouse? Well, neither had I until earlier this year. And from coast to coast, these clubhouses are providing brain injury survivors with vocational training, peer support, and a community. 3 things that I had lost after my accident. Right now, Florida only has one of these houses, but we're working to change that. Reach out to me to see how you can help. All right, back to the episode. When did he go in for surgery? Did he go into surgery?
He was in a lot of,
yes, he went. Yeah, he went into surgery to put stents in his carotid arteries. About how many days?
A week after. It's like a week. It was a
yeah, I want to say about 5 days after. So there was this big shift when they did that. They did his tracheotomy. They took the bolt out of his head. And then, let's see, I forget what else they did at that time, but it was like, and they gave him a G button for feeding. And so it was like a pretty big shift of, okay, but he was still in a coma, and it wasn't being induced any longer. He also had to have surgery on his leg. He had surgery on his wrist.
He had a very clean tib fib break. They were surprised that there was no pieces on the road. And then his left wrist was just completely shattered.
Jeez.
I had a lot of pins in it. And then he lost a lot of weight. He lost like 80 pounds. So the pins started poking through.
Holy cow. Now let's talk about that. So, 55 miles per hour, right? That's a massive impact speed. And unfortunately that car cut him off. Josh, we talked about this in the preliminary call, very active, very healthy, very fit. And that y'all were saying that kind of played in, it really did play into the survival of how he was able to get through this and be sitting with us today.
Yeah. He was a swimmer. He was very lean.
Bodybuilder.
He was a gym rat. He worked out a lot. So him being so fit saved his life for sure. But unfortunately, he didn't have a lot of fat to lose. And so when he did lose weight in the hospital, it was all muscle.
It was about 2 pounds a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he got pretty skinny.
Pretty fast.
Yeah, man.
He went from 190 down to what, 130 pounds.
Yeah.
Jeez, 60 pounds. Holy cow. It's fun. It's cool. I love this connection that I'm seeing on the screen between the three of y'all. I mean, Josh is smiling.
He's almost done.
Because you talk about him being a gym rat now, y'all just finished physical therapy right before this call. Let's talk about the work. I mean, 2021 is when it happened. We're 5 years post accident, right? Let's talk about that progress that y'all have seen through these 5 years from, the being in the trauma ER to the acute rehab to now being at home. Can you walk us through this timeline?
It's a long journey.
It is. It was a total of about 10 months from his accident until the time he came home. And that we did a couple of stints in the trauma ER and then back to the acute rehab facility. Then Josh became septic at one point, and we had to go back to the medical ICU. And
that was a really scary time when he was septic.
We really only almost lost him at that point. Other than the initial accident itself, we had a really terrible time with him being septic. But we managed to get through that. That was another several months in the medical ICU, and then back to the rehab facility, and then home from there.
And home was, they had to check us out for everything we had to know how to do in the hospital. And you know how to do it. You see them doing it, and then you bring them home and you're like, wait, what? It's just a big learning curve for the first few months.
Jeez.
Working the same equipment, but not doing it right. Or like, okay.
And what kind of equipment is that y'all are working with?
Oh, well, thanks to Brenda just being very diligent about all of the equipment and all of the organizations that are willing to donate equipment and that sort of thing. We have a supine stander. We have a vibration platform we use often. I'm sitting right now on Josh's therapy table. I sit behind him on this exercise ball. So we also have another type of gait trainer. We actually have 2 types of gait trainers that we're using. And what we discovered was that Josh had a will to use his muscles and to actually make himself stand up, or we could trigger that. And so kind of what the therapist and I do is we devise ways to make Josh uncomfortable, and then he wants to be comfortable and actually starts to move in those directions. And once we find those muscle groups that he can control, then we just exploit that. And so that's what we've been doing for the past 4 years now, is just working on whatever kind of direction Josh goes, and we just run with it. We throw a lot of stuff against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what we do.
Taking a quick pause from today's episode, people have been asking about the hats and shirts that I wear on all of these podcasts. They're also asking where they can find my memoir. You can check everything out over at toroandtides.com. Again, that is toroandtides.com. My memoir, Forgetting to Remember, is also available on Amazon. That dives deeper into my own brain injury recovery journey. Alrighty, back to the episode. Now, Brenda, when we talked earlier, you said you went back to school for a nursing degree.
I became one of Josh's nurses, right? It was brought to our attention that there was a law passed in 2023 that parents can be a skilled caregiver for their own children. So I went back to nursing school. I was hired by an agency, and Josh is my patient.
Wow. When
also
you
has
went,
additional nurses that help too.
Okay. So are we seeing nurses coming in every day to assist?
Yes.
Most days, yeah.
Okay. And when they arrive, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? What are they assisting with?
His day-to-day care. We can leave during the daytime if we want to, run errands, do whatever we need to do.
Okay. And for the care that Josh needs, he's still doing physical therapy. What else is needing?
100% care for everything. He needs
feeding
100%
and
care for feeding, for bathing, for everything he does, getting him up, getting him down, transferring him, all that stuff.
And this, and just to clarify for our audience, this is an anoxic brain injury, correct? Because of the lack of blood flow that went to his brain.
Well, he got it all. He got obnoxious brain injury. He had strokes in the base of his brain, and then he had shearing throughout his brain.
Jeez.
So, it's really kind of. I think that's why they looked at us like they didn't actually believe they were talking to us, because he probably shouldn't have survived all of that.
Yeah, I mean it's remarkable to see him sitting up with y'all.
Right.
And during some speech therapy and physical therapy, Josh was finally discharged, where it seemed like the therapist almost gave up on him, where it's like, hey, there's nothing else we can do.
When they plateau, then when they let them go. And we actually saw a couple other physical therapists that said there was nothing they can do with him either, but we found a phenomenal one down in Barnes that is amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And she's been working with him for about 3.5 years now.
I think that's so important for our audience to hear. Advocacy.
Yes.
Y'all are incredible for fighting for continued care when so many doors close. What would be advice for our listeners where, maybe their son, their daughter were said, hey, that's it. What would you encourage them to do?
My thought has always been, and through this experience, is there are people in the medical field that connect with you. And when you find one of those connections, it doesn't really matter what that person's title is, so to speak. If you can advocate until you can find the person in that field that will advocate with you, that's what you're looking for. And if you're talking to a person who is, just treating you very clinically or by the numbers, that's probably not your person. So you have to find those people that will have a personal connection, that want to be a part of the team, is what I'm saying. We've had a lot of instances where people want to just care for Josh in a way that is just maintain. And Josh isn't in that mode to maintain. He's in the mode to recover. And so that recovery is going to be a very, very, very long process, or shortened, depending on him. But you've got to find those people who believe in him, believe in recovery, and want to be included in your team. That's what you're looking for.
In talking about this,
you got to move on.
Talking about this team environment, the two of y'all, it's beautiful to see how much y'all stepped up to help your son, right? And again, you mentioned in the beginning, it's wow, holy cow, we're gonna be home by ourselves doing whatever we want, empty nesters, and then now going full time treating Josh. Can we talk about those little wins that you've seen throughout the years, where it's like, oh my gosh, we are seeing recovery, we are seeing progress. How much has it changed through the years?
When Josh came home, he was 100% tube fed. So just the fact that we've gone to his speech teacher and a speech therapist, and he now can eat most of it. He eats regular foods all day long, as long as they can be swallowed. It's not like a pineapple here or a grape he couldn't eat, but almost anything else he can eat. And so that's one of the hugest improvements is right there, is just the fact that he can enjoy regular food. He still gets 2 feeds twice a day, though, just for all his nutrition. And then with this physical therapy, some of the most craziest improvements he's made is he stood up, and then just last week he did a push-up on his own.
Josh.
But I will also say, though, that it was a year of somebody sitting behind him just like this to get him to be able to hold his head up. Wow. So we just have to understand that these improvements are going to take a lot more time than what you think. So when the first doctor tells you, well, now it's a brain injury, so this is a marathon, not a sprint. I don't know how many times I heard that.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
But it's completely true. It's totally true.
You have to learn patience.
Yeah, you have to have patience.
Mm-hmm. This might be a tough question to answer, but obviously, you know, throughout this journey, frustration, devastation, sadness. You know, we saw Josh. He was going to be a pilot, right? And he was completely independent in college. When those tough days set in, and I think this is good for other caregivers to hear, what gets you through those tough days where it's you reflect back on that and you, I mean, I'm sure sadness and frustration set in. How do you get through those challenging moments?
Probably our faith.
Yeah. We have faith in our God and what true hope is. And true hope that, you know, we've already got the victory. It's already won. We just have to follow the steps and take the directions we can. You can look at things. I mean, there were plenty of mornings when we were devastated and that I wasn't going to make it through the day without Brenda giving me some encouragement to make it through the day, and vice versa. And there were days when we were both that bad, and we didn't know how we were going to make it, but we just knew that somehow this was a plan, and this was the cup that we were given to drink from, and we were going to just take it one more step. And so I always like to say, you know, just take one more step forward, because when the needle is on zero, it doesn't really take much to move it just a little bit to the positive, you know. And if you can just continue that movement, then it really doesn't take that much effort to make it go to the positive side of things, and then you can just build on that. And it's kind of what we do, you know. One more step. And when you think you can't take one more step, you can just take one more step.
Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Keep going
Wonderful, wonderful advice, and I love that y'all have found, you know, that strength through your religion as well, which I've seen as a common theme with a lot of the guests on this show, and it truly is beautiful. Now, you mentioned a younger brother. How has he been through this process, this journey?
Luckily, he was in college for most of it, so he wasn't even around. I mean, Josh was in the hospital when he was still in high school, and then when Josh came home, he was in college. So we were really grateful that he didn't have to deal with the hardest part of it.
Yeah. What he's done is become very, very independent himself, because us dealing with the things that we need to deal with Josh has kind of forced him to not have mom hovering around and taking care of every little thing like we see some parents do.
Yeah.
He didn't get that opportunity. So thank goodness he's very intelligent and very mature, and he was able to handle himself. And he just kind of stepped up and did what was necessary to, you know, further his college career and
navigate the college world.
Yeah, navigated through college, graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, and off he goes.
He's got a great job. Yeah.
Smart kid.
It's kind of like, hey, mom, I got my apartment for next year. Oh, great. Good. I'm glad you took care of that. I didn't even know what was going on. So, yeah.
Very, very smart and independent child.
Yes.
That's great. Has he been good about checking in with Josh? Do they still have a good relationship?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
So what does life look like now? What's next? What are the day-to-day activities that y'all do to continue this momentum for healing for Josh?
Well, since Brenda was able to go to school and become one of Josh's nurses, I was able to quit my job a little less than a year ago. So now every day we just kind of double team this whole effort. I'm able to spend therapy time with Josh. We're able to spend family time together.
Brenda takes spend time with us.
Yeah. So we you know, as far as that goes, we've just got a routine that we both handle all the household duties. We both have kind of our job with as far as what Josh does. She takes care of the nursing side of things. I take care of the maintenance of all of the equipment and the transportation, taking Josh around to his appointments and all his various doctor appointments. And I take care of doing therapy with him every day.
I take care of the nursing aspect of things and manage the nurses and schedules and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I call agencies and I make appointments and I do all that fun stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
Yeah, such a powerful team. Is Josh visiting doctors' offices and hospitals weekly? I know early on in my recovery, it just felt like it was consistent.
Not anymore.
Well, he usually, I mean, it's more of a monthly thing, but there's probably something once every week or two that he's
He
doing
goes to
besides his
therapy once a week, and then he just he gets Botox, but really he's a healthy person other than his injury, his brain injury. He's a really healthy person. He's really strong.
You know, it's during the course of this conversation, I've seen Josh smile quite a bit. I mean, his personality and his awareness. He's we can see him engaged in what we're talking about. Is there stuff that happens on a daily basis where you do see that happiness? Where are there certain things that you can obviously tell that he enjoys?
Yes.
Eating.
He likes to eat.
He loves therapy.
He particularly likes off-pillar jokes,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
He likes the dog sounds.
Yeah. So
our day is pretty structured though. I mean, like he gets up and I am his nurse every morning. I'm the overnight nurse, and every morning until the nurses get here, and I just kind of get him going and get him together, do some stuff with them, and then he has therapy with dad a little bit later, and then he gets a shower and stuff, and then days just, I mean, everything takes longer than what I'm saying. You know, a shower is not just like hopping in the shower and out. But then he takes a nap, and then he gets up and has dinner and watch TV for a little bit, and the day's over. I mean, it's a loose schedule, but it's pretty scheduled. Should put in his chair. He's doing okay.
He's doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. A structure has always been important for me, and I'm certain Josh appreciates the structure and everything that y'all are doing and continue to doing for you. Josh, man, I'm so darn proud of you. It's remarkable to hear about what happened to you and how far you've come. You're truly inspiring, and I'm so appreciative for the three of y'all sitting down with me. I always close with letting my guests have the final say, and any advice you'd like to share for other families that are going through a similar situation, or words of encouragement. I'd be happy to let y'all close out this show for me.
Well, one thing I want to say is that I think people find it hard to realize that you can have joy in your sorrows and in your pain, and there is ways to find joy, but you just have to go find the ways to find joy. And we've done that. Josh is very joyful. He finds joy, and we all find joy in every day. That would be mine.
Yeah, it's the little things in life, and that are the important things. You don't live your life with one giant event. No more than a super vacation makes you happy. It's finding the little things that you enjoy, and understanding that is the joy in life.
A powerful testament to close out our show. Thank y'all so much for joining me on Brain to Brain, our Handle with Care segment. Josh, keep kicking butt, man. It is so cool. I'm very appreciative for you sitting here and bearing with me, asking these questions. Continue to excel, and we will keep in touch throughout. I mean, just because the episode's over doesn't mean our conversations end. But thank y'all so much for listening to Brain. We'll catch y'all on the next episode.